President Biden's COVID-19 symptoms are said to be improving. Preliminary lab results show the president was infected with the BA.5 subvariant, which is the most dominant in the United States. Steven Portnoy is in Washington and joins us now to talk more about the president's diagnosis and its potential impact on the upcoming midterms. So what is the latest on the president's condition, Steve?
Well, Vlad, the latest from the president's doctor is that his symptoms are improving significantly. This is the letter that the president's Dr. Kevin O'Connor put out yesterday morning. And it says that the primary symptom the president had as of yesterday was a sore throat, which doctors said was a good sign because it meant that his immune system was responding and working to clear out the virus. The president's body aches and his runny nose and cough were said to have diminished considerably. And today is the fifth, and we presume final day, of the president's course of Paxlovid, the antiviral drug that is given to people who are at severe risk of high risk of severe illness from COVID. So the thinking is that the president will continue to improve. We're expecting an update later this morning.
And Steve, as Vlad mentioned, how might that impact his plans when it comes to the upcoming midterm elections?
Well, when it comes to the president's travel, Jericka, the president remains in isolation. We haven't seen the president since Friday when he took part in a meeting of his economic team virtually, essentially a Zoom call. The president is expected to appear virtually at midday today as he speaks to a group of black law enforcement executives. That was a trip to Orlando, Florida, the president was supposed to take in person, but it was scrapped as a result of his COVID diagnosis. So if the president tomorrow tests negative on the fifth day, that would be an indication, according to his physician, that he would be able to, under CDC guidance, resume his normal schedule of activities wearing a mask. The question is whether he will test negative. If he does, then we can expect him to resume a regular schedule. But if, like so many others, he continues to test positive, we would expect his isolation to continue.
Stephen, let me ask you to compare and contrast the transparency of the Biden administration with the transparency of the Trump administration when it came to former President Trump's COVID diagnosis. One of the things that candidate Biden campaigned on is increased transparency in his administration. We haven't really seen Dr. Kevin O'Connor, who's the president's personal physician, briefing you and the rest of the White House press corps. I mean, maybe you have, and we just haven't seen it. But can you just give us a sense of that?
It's a really important point. Look, the fact is, the President of the United States is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And when he is treated by a physician, the expectation that reporters have is that that man, that doctor, or that woman, that doctor, is going to come forward and answer reporters' questions. And in part, it's because decisions are made by that physician that, frankly, other doctors may be skeptical of. And sometimes in the medical profession, that happens frequently. And so sometimes doctors would like to raise questions and have us raise questions about the way that the president is being treated. And we have not had an opportunity to put those questions directly to the president's doctor in the way that this president's predecessors have permitted. For example, in 1981, when Ronald Reagan was shot, his surgeons answered questions. In 1996, when Bill Clinton had knee surgery, his doctors came to the White House briefing room and answered questions. In 2002, when George W. Bush had a colonoscopy, a routine colonoscopy, his doctor came to the briefing room to answer questions. And the previous president sent both of his White House physicians to reporters to answer questions, not just about his COVID bout, but also about his mental acuity. So a question stands for this White House. Why has this president decided not to put his doctor forward to answer our questions?
Wow.
I mean, the other thing that the Biden administration is talking about are these falling gas prices in recent days. Explain why some are saying that could be a risky strategy for the White House.
Well, look, any president is in a difficult position when you have gas prices as high as they currently are. And this White House acknowledges that. So while gas prices have come down from their high earlier this year, the White House has to walk a fine line. Can it take credit for the fact that gas prices have come down? If they do, are they taking the blame when gas prices go up? This is a key week for the president economically. You see there, gas prices average $4.36 a gallon under AAA. That's down, of course, from over $5 a gallon. This week, you have, for example, tomorrow, consumer confidence numbers come out tomorrow. The Federal Reserve meets on Wednesday to discuss a likely increase in interest rates. On Thursday, the second quarter GDP numbers will come out. The first quarter numbers showed a negative growth rate in the economy of 1.6%. If there's a similar negative growth rate for the second quarter, most economists would say that we are now in a recession, although the National Bureau of Economic Research is seen as the arbiter of that. Certainly 2 consecutive negative growth quarters would be a strong indicator of a recession. And then Friday, the inflation numbers come out. And that's key to the president's legislative agenda, because Senator Joe Manchin has said that he wanted to see the July inflation numbers before deciding to get on board with a broader package of, for example, climate investments. Manchin has not completely excluded the possibility that he might come on board for such a package. He said he wanted to see the July inflation numbers. Now, the White House might hope that the decline in gas prices might put negative pressure on the inflation figures, but inflation has been on the march. It has not been transitory. And so if those inflation numbers come out on Friday and they do not show a retrenchment in inflation, well, then you could have another potential stumbling block for the president's legislative agenda.
And we know that Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen not quite ready to use the R word just yet. Steven Portnoy, thank you very much.